The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Very special episode today. I have asked my good friends, Professor Matt Sinkowitz and Max Inhofe, my crew from Boston. When I say my crew, we used to hang out. Not my staff, my team, my fellows from Boston. They are covering for me today because it is one of those days. We're all going to have to take a break here and there. And so thankfully they have stepped in for me today to give me some time to let my head rest. And I may have a couple of things to say in the bonus show for patrons. But for the most part, I'm going to turn it over to those guys.
Today's Friday, March 27th, and this is the Benjamin Dixon Show. Not with Benjamin Dixon, but back finally after a long hiatus. It's me, Professor Matt Sinkowitz, and the always reliable Max Inhofe. Max, how you doing?
Hey, checking in, still reliable. Yeah,
no, that's as exciting. It's been a while. A lot has happened since me and you last hosted the show. The world ended, so that's one thing. One thing that happened. Also, Ben is now famous and very important, and we're still us. So
that's right.
And I'm like, to be honest, super comfortable with both those things. Like, I'm very happy with Ben's increasing influence, and totally content with you and I being the weird fill-in guys who pop in every so often.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, so that's good. In this storm of whatever this is, we got that going for us. How you holding up?
Oh, all right. I think just like I live with roommates, so that can get a little bit uncomfortable when everybody is working from home and you can't really leave. But
are they trustworthy roommates? Like, are you sure they're not going and licking phone booths or whatever?
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They're...
it's a thing. Family is one thing, but like generally, if you've lived with them long enough, you know what their proclivities are and whether or not they're likely to go do something very dumb in this circumstance. But roommates, I don't know.
Yeah, well, one of my roommates is the general manager of like a Sherman-Williams, like a paint store. And he has been deemed an essential employee. So his... painting store is still open. He works in the suburbs of Boston. And I guess there's a lot of really wealthy suburbanites who are being forced to work from home and are using that opportunity to go and buy paint and paint rooms in their massive houses. So
okay, yeah, I was trying to look for a more charitable read on that. I have trouble seeing what the essential nature of the paint store is. I mean, there might
he said
be
it's building supplies.
Yeah, I mean, hospitals...
Like that.
Well, so the only thing I could think of is if you're making a makeshift hospital, you might need to cover something with paint, but I don't know if you would get that paint at the Sherman-Williams in Wayland or wherever he's working. So, all right. So that's, I guess wash your hands and don't lick them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to cope with new living circumstances. I was on the show yesterday with Ben discussing the generational crunch between my 70-year-old ish mother and my 1 and 4-year-old children, and sort of being the sitcom dad to both of them. Trying to get them both to not do things that their friends are doing, essentially. That sort of stuck between the boomers and I don't know what terrible generational name my 1 and 4-year-old will get. This is actually one of my dreams in life now, is that they will not be called Corona kids, right? Like, I hope that this is not like a depression baby, right? Like, I hope this is not the defining element of my children's childhood.
Well, wouldn't that label be saved for children born during the coronavirus baby boom?
Well, that is possible. Yeah, that is possible. It depends, right? If we are looking back on this and it was a thing that was terrible, but time distances it enough that we can look at other things, then they will become, then Corona kids will be kids who are born 9 months from now. I would agree with that. If it's much worse than that, it will be more like the depression baby model, right? Like anybody who was just in that period, you just assume their life was so screwed up by it that they are defined by it. So I hope you're right. This is actually, if I could have one piece of information from 50 years from now, is our Corona kids who were born during a sex boom during a quarantine, or is it kids who are screwed up by the effects on the economy and public health and social norms and whatever? Which of those becomes the Corona kids will tell you almost anything you need to know.
Yeah, well, let's hope we're around to find out.
Yeah, no, it's also true. You're right, because it's like that's a tiered thing, right? Because the first thing is, 50 years, there's something in here. I mean, we could do a math on our ages. It won't look so good for that either. But yes, if the world exists in 50 years, that's really good. And the next layer of good would be if Corona kids are a sort of kind of a winking reference to a sex boom and not something else. All right, that was good. I'm glad I think we sorted something out there. I don't know if anybody else has worked that problem out, so I'm feeling pretty good that we've contributed.
Yeah,
here.
Breaking ground.
Yeah, no, I think so. Now I've got the pleasure of welcoming onto the show Andrew Martin. Andrew is a already successful but nonetheless up-and-coming novelist. His first book, Early Work, was released to great acclaim last year, I think. He's got a new short story volume called Cool for America coming out, and he's just a generally impressive observer of both general society, but particularly sort of bourgeois affectations. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show, Andrew.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, obviously, no matter what we talk about, we have to talk about the virus. But I don't want to. I'm not going to ask you any questions about the virus transfer or something. I'm just interested. You're a writer. You're living in New York City. I know you're constantly looking at the world and trying to make sense of it. What's going on with you? What are your days like these days?
Well, I live in Brooklyn in Prospect Heights, and I'm very grateful that we decided to get an apartment with 3 big front-facing windows that look out onto the street, because that is where I spend a lot of my time. Observing as my sidewalk, which is usually quite busy, slowly goes down to a trickle of very few people. And I am grateful that I have a dog right now, because it means that I have to go take a couple walks a day around the neighborhood and see how people are doing and just generally get a sense of how things are. But even a couple weeks ago, I don't think I could have imagined that every shop on my avenue of a very busy part of Brooklyn would be closed, and that I'd be walking in the middle of the street to avoid walking too close to people on the sidewalk. And there's also the funny paradox. I mean, not funny, haha, but it's also like spring is here, and right. It's like fairly beautiful outside most of the time. There's these gorgeous sunny days, and if you kind of walk around without the news in your ears, you can almost pretend it's just a beautiful day in March. But
no, that's right. It's the cues, the visual cues are all cues of coming together, right? And yet they are obviously being rejected. Do you find yourself following the news? Are you a plugged in or a cover your ears kind of guy when it comes to this stuff on a daily basis?
Oh my God, I wish I could get it down to a hourly instead of minute by minute basis of following the news. I think I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, but my partner is a doctor and working in a hospital in New York, and so she's seeing COVID patients on an almost daily basis, and so I'm getting the news firsthand, which is very, very bleak in the hospitals right now. So it's not terribly helpful sometimes to be reading, first-person accounts from other other doctors and nurses, describing the desperate shortage of equipment and et cetera, because I'm kind of getting enough of it probably already.
Yeah.
What? Well, I mean, I don't want to ask anything personal there. Do you find that there is there? Do you turn to anywhere? Is there anywhere that you feel? I don't know. Is there any solace in learning, or is this? You sort of, the way you described it is something you wish you didn't do, but you have to. Would you really like to know less about it?
No, I mean, I think the fact is, you have to know. I mean, here it's moving so fast in the middle of New York that, I do have to check to see what the latest closures are, or
right.
what the infection rate is, or whatever. I mean, there is real practical information that needs to be gotten, but at the end of the day, how much am I gaining from hearing 25 times a day that the hospitals are going to be overwhelmed in 2 weeks? Not that much, right? I don't know how many times you need to hear something.
But why do you think we nonetheless listen, like those of us who do? I mean, just psychological speculation, but I'd be interested in yours.
I mean, it's compulsion. It's certainly fascinating. I mean, we're living through something I don't think any of us ever thought we'd live through. So, there's a part of you that just wants to take in the information and learn and understand. And, it's certainly morbidly fascinating. There's the really sick narrative part of your brain that it's like, oh my gosh, it's in India. Oh my gosh, look, it's here. You're kind of like watching Independence Day or something and seeing all the different world landmarks getting blown up by the aliens.
Well, are you watching it, or are you a character?
Well, yeah, you get to be both, which is really fun. I'm hoping I get to be like Will Smith and not extra number 7, who gets blown up running out of the Lincoln Tunnel or whatever.
Yeah, I always wanted to be Judd Hirsch in that movie, but I understand what you're getting at. Yeah, no, I mean, to me, I agree. Part of it is like you feel like you're part of something world historical. That this is gives some meaning to it, right? To be engaged in it. I think also it seems falsely prophylactic in some way, right? Like somehow if you know this information, then somehow that will help, right? Which in some basic cases could be true, but obviously the return on investment on that's pretty low after a while. I've read I think probably 10 different pieces about how to wash your hands. Keep reading new ones as if it's going to change, Yes.
That's what you do.
Right. There's as though a hand washing breakthrough is what's going to get this. Yeah. No. Those. That is a funny thing. We always. Well, here's a pure question. How long? Let's assume not we all, but those of us who survive this. How long will it take until men cease washing their hands after going to the restroom?
Oh, I'm thinking like day after they declare this done. I'm going to be like, I've washed my hands 10,000 times.
That's right. You already did
I don't
that.
have to wash them ever again.
That's right. It'll be a permanent condition. So
Laura had to introduce me to hand moisturizer. She's like, you probably haven't noticed it in the 10 years we've lived together, that there's moisturizer all over the house, actually.
Because your hands get dried out if you actually properly...
Anytime you want.
Yeah, no, if you actually use proper hygiene, then it's true. Your hands will dry out. Oh man, yeah, I know some of those. I mean, those little things that emerge in it are at least amusing for the moment. All right, I'm going to put you a little on the spot, but you can handle this. Give us two threads of reading suggestions. Give us books, novels, whatever that we should read because we wanna sort of cope with this. Maybe not the specific, right? But just with some of the questions of it doesn't need to be disease, but these sort of deeper existential, maybe broader even than that stuff, and then also give us a path of stuff we want to just avoid this. What do you, as a man of letters, recommend we look into?
Well, it's funny. I've been saying to people that, for me, the sweet spot in this moment is to find books that sort of like speak to some kind of cataclysm or difficulty, that so that they feel like relevant but not so relevant. Like I don't really want to read The Plague right now, but I also find it hard to be excited about something that's just like a pure comedy of manners, that has no relation to anything. So I've been recommending the books of Penelope Fitzgerald, who's one of my favorite writers, and she's an English writer who wrote a lot of sort of, you would call it historical fiction, I guess, but they're often these very short books, usually under 200 pages. And my favorite one that I read recently was called Human Voices, and it's about people working at BBC headquarters in London in 1940. So, they're all worried about what's to come. They're worried about the Germans invading, and they're all sort of like working together to try to keep the radio station going and keep their spirits up. And somehow it kind of brought me comfort to read it, because it's like a very funny and sort of optimistic in its way book, but it's also about people dealing with, the possibility of the worst coming. So that's been a good one.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Before I get you out of here, you see yourself writing about this, assuming you've got, a brain and fingers to write with when it calms down?
What are you like? Yeah, what are you going to do? Everyone's going to write about it. It's going to be it's a matter of how and when. I'm trying to write right now, but
no,
a little close.
I understand. Well, that's are you getting anything done? I mean, I think that's a broad question for a lot of people who, creative or otherwise. But are you accomplishing things during the day, or do you find this just takes up the whole chunk of it?
It's pretty hard. I find that I can do sort of intellectual housekeeping. I'm trying to keep up with. Like I've got a story coming out, so I'm, fact checkers are emailing me and I'm supposed to answer some questions about it. And I just talked to an NYU graduate student who interviewed me for their literary magazine, and, stuff like that. Yeah. It's nice to be distracted, and it's nice to feel like you're doing some work towards your writing life and your writing career, but actually producing new fiction feels kind of tough right now.
Yeah. I'm interested. This is not the time, but the notion of fact checking for fiction writing is an interesting topic on its own. So I guess it makes sense. We'll talk about we'll get you on in a much better time, and we'll talk about the the actual production of fiction and lighter stuff. So you've if people are interested in you, I can't recommend highly enough checking out Early Work, a novel that Andrew wrote, and I got an advance copy of his forthcoming short story collection, Cool for America. Listeners to this show, frankly. Listeners to any show should check this out. It's really important, interesting, and engaging stuff. Andrew, you don't do any social media stuff, do you? You're better than us, right?
I'm on Instagram.
Oh, you are.
And
never mind then.
I'm not. It's not a particularly well curated Instagram.
Well, what's the Instagram? Let's see if we can get you a follower or two.
I think it's.
Now you are better than us. I knew it. All right.
I think it's at Andrew H. Martin 85.
Ah, all right. That is a terrible handle. That is exactly what a brilliant novelist and short story writer should come up with for a handle. Andrew, thanks so much for giving us a report from the back line. And the most important thing you're doing now is doing whatever you have to keep your wife going and helping her out as she's on the real front line here. So thanks for that work, and a big thanks to her for doing the real work there. Thanks for coming on, and I really hope to sometime in the future Max and I'll take back over and we'll just talk about fiction and telling stories and stuff. So thanks for coming on, Andrew.
Of course. Thanks for talking.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
we interrupt this regularly scheduled broadcast to bring you a patron party. Very special thank you to Samuel Lading. Very special thank you to Zach Diaz. Very special thank you to Alex McCauley. I think that's how I pronounce it. Alex, very special thank you and welcome to Hunter, Travis R. Rousseau, and Cody Parker. Thank you all so much for becoming patrons. Well, I just want to be sure. Lisa Burnham, I think I called you yesterday, but just in case, I want to make sure I give you a shout out. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to www.patreon.com/the BPD show. And becoming a patron where you'll get access to twice the amount of content with none of the annoying ads like you're going to hear right about here. Welcome back. All right. Bring the music down. Okay, let's get back into this. I said bring the music down like I'm not the dude literally bringing the music down. I'm so stupid. Anyway, let's get back to this episode. Thank you again to Professor Matt Sinkowitz and Max Thunder. I'm really having a hard time with that last name, Max. We know that's not your real last name, but it sounds more like a stage name, like Chippendale, like you're a dancer. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just didn't know if you realized that's what your stage name sounds like. All right, let me shut up. Let's get back to this episode.
All right, Max, we got time for one more session, one more section, one more bit, and
what is that?
It's a fan favorite. And it needs no introduction except for the introduction song that we have. So here, it actually really needs an introduction, and here it is.
What a blog saying, I don't really know. I'm pretty busy and I don't know where to go to find them. But Matt's going to ask his friend Josh, and Josh is gonna tell you about blogs. What blogs are saying with Josh Moss.
Also with Max Thunder.
All right, so this is the aforementioned and introduced What Blogs Are Saying with Josh Moss. So we bring on, as always, our two special guests. We have Josh Moss from New York and Max Thunder. I welcome you both to What Blogs Are Saying. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good, actually.
That's very. I'm trying to say that as well. I am when people ask, I'm trying to say good, and then give the little caveat or whatever. But acknowledge the generally I'm doing all right. All things considered.
Well, no, I'm doing in a way better because I'm always on a quarantine type lifestyle. So
just socially, you're saying people like to be distant from you.
Everyone's on my level now.
Yeah, this is for self-deprecating Jewish New York comics. There are some symbiosis here with quarantine and sort of and also neuroses and hypochondria and whatnot. It does all go together. Max Thunder, you here with us still?
Yeah.
All right, just making sure we didn't lose you. And also, I like to get out that you're now Max Thunder, right? That's how the bit works.
That's right.
Okay, so we do have we always like to start this off with a listener question, and we've got a special question here from Ben in Atlanta. Ben asks, "Hey Josh, what are blogs saying in these dark times?"
That's a good question, Ben. Well, quarantines traditionally, going back to Shakespeare, are great times for what blogs are saying. So there's just so much to choose from. But first, this is a very recent what blogs are saying. Fanatics, the company that makes uniforms for Major League Baseball, is now going to start using their material to make masks for doctors and nurses and
sounds good.
Yes,
right?
And yes, but some people are concerned that there could be a Croatian patient, Serbian doctor situation where the Red Sox fan won't want a Yankee mask person giving them ventilation.
It's not funny, but it's funny. All right, good. I like that one. What else you got?
I don't know. It's just there's some it's slight what blogs are saying.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else blogs are saying in these dark times?
Oh yeah, there's tons. There's a juicy bit of news there's a book. It's the 15th anniversary of The Office. And a book came out, and according to the book, there's a source. It was Steve Carell's hairdresser. NBC pushed him out the sourcing somewhat reminiscent of Used by the Yankees by Paul Friori.
Right. This is a very a piece of questionable quote unquote nonfiction that in which a Yankees clubhouse attendant claimed that he had an affair as a male guy, had an affair with both Jeter and Rodriguez. Is that abused by the New York Yankees?
No, Jeter and Posada.
Posada, sorry, Jorge Posada, the catcher. Okay, so give me the hairdresser story.
Well, the hairdresser told the writer of this book, which she felt okay to publish, that Carell told her that he was pushed out by NBC and he didn't want to leave the show to begin with, and now, under quarantine, people are, they're upset at NBC because previously it had been thought Carell left to, not have to work, every day.
Right. So wait, what's the accusation? I got a little lost.
The accusation is just that NBC made Steve Carell leave the office,
a
beloved show.
I thought it was something much worse when you talked about So wait, the implication is that Steve Carell was fired? What does it have to... Wait, hold on. I must have missed something. So why did they force...
the accusation is Steve Carell was not... They did not sign him again.
Why would they not... Why? What does that have to do with the hairdresser?
That's what blogs are saying.
So wait, okay, all right, here's what happened when you communicated this. You went to Abused by the New York Yankees, and I thought it had something to do with an abuse question. No, it's just the hairdresser has the... Okay, so this is just about gossip then. So the hairdresser is gossiping that they fired Steve Carell. This is like I'm not going to make another metaphor. Okay, very good. All right, so, Now, I am a defender of late office. Now, Max, are you an office?
What?
Are you an office? I am. Max, are you an office guy?
I mean, I watched it, but I don't even know that I watched the last season of the show.
I see. I am a defender.
Seasons.
Like the last 2 seasons, I am a defender of late office. In part just because it gets so silly, but also the critique of the show actually becomes much sharper, right? Like the first 7 seasons are great, but they're all sort of apologetics for kind of like American business approaches. Right, where like Steve Carell just like fails upwards, right? Like somehow Michael Scott, he's a terrible manager, he does nothing right, but like capitalism keeps on clicking, and they somehow save the day and keep making money. And the last 2 seasons is just like more of a farce. It's more of a sort of an over the top, how ridiculous and silly and random everything is. I quite like the second 2 seasons. The last 2 seasons? Where do you stand on those, Josh?
Oh, I agree. I think it's just a fascinating kind of experiment. It would be like if Jerry left Seinfeld and then there was just Jerry-less Seinfeld. It would be pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, no, it's Garfield without Garfield. Like it is.
Yes, which is better than Garfield.
Better than Garfield, right? Like I
think everyone acknowledges that.
Well, that's just because.
Well, it sounds like you guys are just. You like it because it's interesting, not because it's good. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
That's not necessarily true. But also, I'm going to push back on the distinction. I mean, interesting is a kind of good, right? But okay, fine.
It was getting a little
too philosophical. It gets really silly. Like, really, really silly, and it's interesting. And that combination is the argument that I'm making that it's good. Also, you get James Spader as Robert California in that sort of one of the strangest, most, I don't know how to put it, like out-of-nowhere performances in recent TV history. I don't know, Max. Give it a watch. You have to put up with how goofy it is. But you also lose some of the sentimentality.
So I stopped watching the show when they started introducing the camera crew as characters in the show.
That is bad. That is a lame move. I agree.
That's when I actually jumped. I felt like the show jumped the shark at that point, and I was kind of done with it.
I'm more or less with you on this because part of what I really like about the second 2 seasons is how the melodrama, the Jim Pam melodrama, which was fine at first but was way played out by then, it more or less recedes. Mm-hmm. But the thing that you're describing where they introduce the camera, the boom mic operator, this both is like a lazy piece of writing, and B is it's an attempt to get back the melodrama in the Jim Pam story, and it's just gone, it's dead, and it drags it back in. I totally agree. That is the worst part of it. The best part are the things that have no analogs in the early seasons. So Robert California is just this crazy character. Even Nellie, I'm a defender of, is this kind of wacky character. And you get more Kevin, you get more Toby, which are, crucial and underplayed elements of the early seasons. Anyway, all right, so Josh, blogs are saying that Steve Carell was fired, and they're not saying that he was abused by the hairdresser, which is what I thought you were saying. Any last bit of what blogs are saying during these darkest of times?
Well, to keep, there's so many, blogs talking about COVID, but I have a little inside blog information. He hasn't pressed the publish it button yet, but I have a friend who is writing some newsroom fan fiction.
Ooh. Give us a taste.
Well, first I should tell you it is non-sexual newsroom fan fiction.
So he's just writing spec scripts then.
He is writing non-sexual. No, he is writing non-sexual newsroom fan fiction.
That is a genre unto its own, I suppose. Is there a next? Is that that's probably the end of this joke? I'm guessing. Is there a next? Is there a next?
It's true. I mean, it's inside. It's inside what blogs are saying.
Okay.
Yeah, blogs do not need to be saying this.
Are you suggesting this is not the time for that, Max?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. You prude or non-prude, because it's not sexual.
It's just a bad show. Newsroom, not a huge fan.
I can't. Yeah, as much as I would, I like to take contrarian TV takes, and like I just did with The Office, but I am with you on the newsroom. That is some self-righteous BS of a prestige TV show.
There is I'm a quick what blogs are saying. There's a mini. Sorry, I'm going serious again. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine.
There's some people are defending Harvard not paying its kitchen staff.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyler Cowen. Right?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Of course he.
Tyler Cowen started this. What blogs are saying.
What is his argument?
His argument is that the role of the university is, the grand, spending every cent they can for, the grand breakthrough, and it's not really about the people who work there. And this has started a.
Yeah. Okay.
There are a lot of people who agree with him on blogs.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I haven't read it, so I can't engage with it too much. But I mean, those guys. The people who do the breakthroughs do need to eat and have their urine cleaned off the floor and whatnot. So sounds like BS to me.
Do you think people who make breakthroughs tend
to urinate
need
more?
Urine cleaned off the floor more.
Definitely more. Now that's gonna. Now I'm only to be clear. That's not a gender comment. That's among male breakthroughers.
That is a good point.
Yeah, so I want to be clear. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that let's take gender out of that equation, or sex organ, I guess, not even gender. Take sex organ out of the equation, or urinary organ out of the equation, whatever. Amongst people who stand up while they pee, yes, breakthroughers are going to piss on the floor more. I think that is true. Max?
Yeah, unquestionably.
And you better pay those people who have been cleaning it up for a while. They're going to need to clean it up in the future. Yeah. And it's... I mean, who knows? Resources have to be allocated.
And
but that's a bad argument on its surface, at least.
This could be a plot point for newsroom fan fiction.
All right.
Well, I think just to go back to the story real quick. To me, the part that made it much worse than it would be otherwise is that all of the Harvard students were forced to move out, given a few days to get off campus, and then immediately after they left, all of their rooms were cleaned by the staff, and so the staff's members cleaned the rooms without being properly prepared, and then now they're all being told to go find other work, and when they absolutely would not be able to.
Yeah, okay, that only made it worse. I wanted to leave on the newsroom laugh line, but that's a really good point.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's just a really good point, Max. All right, Josh.
Yeah, I mean that Will McAvoy might. We could add. He could. I'll tell my friend to have Will McAvoy say that.
Yeah, that's good, and that one blog will be out there fighting the good fight. All right, Josh, thanks for filling us in on what blogs are saying. We'll see if Ben lets us back after that fiasco. If so, we'll bring you. No, I actually thought that was pretty good, but we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be back to doing this like on those kind of fun summer fill-in for Ben episodes, as opposed to the Ben hopefully is recovering from all the stress of talking about this every day fill-in shows. But anyway, man.
Yeah.
And also, you're in New York, so don't be safe. Not that I'm in a place that's that safe, or anybody is, but you're especially. Just be careful, man. All right.
I can't go to Texas anymore, so all right.
All right.
Okay. Very special. Before I tell them thank you, I just thought it would be hilarious to end in their segment with some trap music. But listen, go over to Twitter and follow my good friends Matt Sinkowitz at Media Studied. MEDIASTUDIED at Media Studied on Twitter. That's Professor Sinkowitz. You could also follow Max Inhofe on Twitter at Maximillionaire, spelled MAXIMILLIENAIR. Very special thank you to Josh. Always a pleasure having you doing what the blogs are saying. And a very special thank you to Andrew Martin for jumping in there as well. And that's it for today's show. That's the public show. I'm going to do a little bit of something in the patrons only episode. So go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show to hear my ruminations and my meandering and my stargazing and all the other stuff that apparently people like. So thanks again to my dudes for helping me out this morning. And yesterday, it was a rough 2 days for me, and I've got my wits back about me and got a lot to say on Monday. But for patrons, you'll hear a lot to say after this music. Take care.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
I love that music. Hey, everybody, patrons! You get to hear my soft, sultry, soothing voice.